What's going on, guys? Connor Mark Show here, coming back with you for another reaction to Game 2. Sixers defeated the Atlanta Hawks 118 to 102. Before we get into it, make sure you follow us, Connor Mark Show, on at Twitter and Instagram on at Connor Mark Show, along with subscribe to our YouTube page at the Connor Mark Show as well. To keep with all our content and videos is there. So, like I said, Sixers defeat the Hawks 118 to 102, tied the series at 1 to head back to Atlanta for Game 3. That will be Friday night. So, huge Game 2 victory. Obviously, it was a must-win coming into tonight, and the Sixers get it done, and were able to get a huge win off 40 points from Joel Embiid, 22 Tobias Harris, 21 from Seth Curry, and then a big 14 points in the fourth quarter from Shake Milton as well. Huge game, Mark. Obviously, reaction to that, obviously, a huge game from the 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, just like what we said, in the early, reaction there, it's what we expect here in Game 2. I mean, it was not essentially a must-win game, but it was in the Sixers book. Really couldn't go back to Atlanta down 2-0, and they really made that evident in the first quarter. I know matchups were a big thing, and I really like how, Ben played Trey, and clearly it looked like it worked out in the end. I mean, Gallinari finished as the Hawks' leading scorer with 21 points, obviously held Trey to a much lower margin than they did in Game 1, as well as in the previous series that the Knicks held Trae Young to. So overall, just a great effort. Again, Embiid just unreal how he didn't win the MVP. I mean, 40 points, 13 rebounds, just like insane play, and they're going to need him to be that good, the rest of the series and the rest of the time in their playoffs if they want to go to the finals. But just a great reaction game. They scuffled a little there in the middle, but again, fourth quarter, they came out, they outscored them 27-18, and that's really what seems to be the method here for the Sixers to win. Obviously came up a little short and a little too late last game, but I love the fourth quarter energy that they bring, and like you mentioned in the open, I mean, that was strongly on the shoulders of Shake Milton. But, I also want to get your reaction to this. This was a huge game. As you mentioned, they go back to Atlanta on Friday for Game 3. How do you see those two games shaking out? And again, what do you think of this one?
Well, starting with Game 2, the Hawks bench in the first half was dominated 76ers bench. I think it was like 32-0 going into the first half. Usually that was Huter he finished with 20 points. Gallinari finished with 21. Lou Williams finished with 6. But those two guys obviously carried the Hawks bench throughout this game. Trae Young had 21. But other than that, their starting lineup didn't really play that well. Bogdanovich, hit 2 threes. John Collins did not really have a good game. Clint Capella didn't really have a great game. And we kind of knew going into this game that Clint Capella was going to be a difference maker if Joel Embiid didn't play. But if Embiid played, it's really just he's going to be neutralized and not really be a big part in the Atlanta Hawk offense because Joel Embiid is such a big difference maker. So obviously, like I said, the Hawks bench, especially in the first half, outplayed the 76ers. But like I said, in the second half, Shake Milton had a really good second half. Really, the fourth quarter, he came in the fourth quarter and dominated with 14 points. Dwight Howard, obviously, 6 points, 6 rebounds, had really a couple impact plays in the fourth quarter that really impacted the game, really drove in the stretch for the 76ers to pull away in the fourth quarter. Ben Simmons for the 4 points, he didn't really play that great. Really put up 3 shots. Curry, really good tonight, hit like 5 or 6 from downtown, was really good in the first half. Tobias Harris is steadily had one of those games where he just quietly puts up 20 points and he's just, a really reliable scorer next to Joel Embiid. And obviously Joel Embiid, 40 points, 13 rebounds, 12 of 16 from the line. Really good game from him. All around defensively, they really did a good job on Trae Young today. We talked about how they're going to neutralize Trae Young and how he's going to make an impact. And I think that they started out like we wanted to. They put Ben Simmons on him. Ben Simmons really made his life difficult, and then they put Thibault out on him, and they kept, he put up 21, I believe, tonight.
Gallinari put up 21, and so did Trae Young. Yeah,
Trae Young put up 21. 6 of 16, though, not really efficient. He was 1 of 7 from downtown. I think they made his life a lot more difficult compared to previous games. I think that's something that Sixers defense and Doc Rivers should be very excited about. I think going into Game 3, I think that obviously Ben Simmons, Thibault, maybe you could throw a little green on him, in sprints, but I think they did a really good job making sure that Trae Young wasn't getting off the pick and roll easily, getting to the basket with floaters or shooting threes. So I think they did a really good job neutralizing Trae Young. And outside Trae Young, we said going into this game, like they don't have a lot. They really don't have a lot of scoring wise. We talk about John Collins. John Collins is a nice player. I think he's got set up for himself for a really good contract in the offseason, but he's not a great player, and he struggled tonight. Talking about other guys like on that starting five, Clint Capella, like he's a modern day NBA five, but he's a pick and roll guy, but he's not like a 20-point scorer reliably. Bogdanovich is a nice shooter, but he had an off night tonight. So once that happens for the starting five, then they're really struggling, and they had to get guys off the bench like Gallinari and Huter to hit threes and really keep them in the game. And what we saw in the fourth quarter, the Hawks are a young team, and we saw a 76ers team that's been in the playoffs for a couple of years, and they've started to pull away, and their veterans, the veteran prowess really came in late, and we saw them pull away, and that's something that obviously Doc Rivers coming in was huge. And I think that 76ers should be, really happy about the result tonight. And I think that, Atlanta is obviously a more difficult place to play compared to Washington previously in the previous season in the series. But I expect at least one win in Atlanta, and not just one, but two. I think the 76ers team has played really good tonight. I think Embiid, I think that he's not really a question mark anymore, Mark. I think that he's looking really good. In 39 in game one, 40 in game two, he's looking really good.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like we said. I mean, if this team wants to go far, he's their superstar, and he's really their anchor. That's who they really need to rely on. And to your point, Connor, obviously this team is very young, but I'm really excited. And just being a Sixers fan over the past few years with Brett Brown here, one of the biggest things was adjustments. And when you get beat, how do you come out the next game, and how do you react to that? I think the Sixers did a great job. I think Doc Rivers did a great job to set this team up for success. And when I say that, I mean, just looking at here at the statistics, I mean, the Hawks shoot 51% in game one. They shoot 45% in game two from the field. 3-point percentage just drops off significantly, 42% in game one, 36 in game two. So just those two, shooting areas for the Hawks. I just feel like the Sixers really, and to your point about Trae Young as well, made the life difficult for the entire team. And when, you're holding a team like that to 11 threes rather than they did in game one, where they gave up 20 threes, that's significant. And it really, obviously here determines the outcome of game two, as they only allow 102 points in comparison to game one when they allow 128 points. So, just those minor things in my book, make this team look a little different. Obviously, I know the bench is a big thing we've been talking about, and first game going to a full bench. This game was a little bit shorter, and it proved to be successful. So I'm excited to see where this team goes, man. I think right now with the experience that the Sixers do have, and with the head coach they have, I think that they can steal two in Atlanta. And I think if they do, I think it's a goner in game five. I think the Sixers come back here with all the momentum, with the crowd and the city on their back, and they can finish it off. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself, just yet. I think they need to take care of business, and they will in game three. And from there, I think it's going to be a team that we've all expected here. So those were some major adjustments that really stood out to me this game in comparison to last.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll talk about that obviously Saturday with the Connor Mark Show on WCHE, which will be following Friday's big, obviously game three. We'll be talking about that along with, some of the stuff going on in NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs as well. And also a little, USA or US championship,
little US Open.
Yeah, a little US Open. Obviously, we'll talk about that
Torrey
as well.
Pines, 121st anniversary of Torrey Pines.
I was looking to see who the favorite was. I didn't get a chance to look, but that's going to be exciting as well. I know we've been talking about the PGA and the Masters for the past couple of months. Obviously, I love breaking down golf on the Connor Mark Show as well. But, yeah, obviously game three is going to be a huge game going in, a big pivotal game three. It really sets the tone for the rest of the series. And the first, obviously, I think the first true road game, I think, for the Sixers, because the Wizards, obviously, in Washington wasn't really that much of a home crowd for them. So we'll see what happens with the Sixers, and obviously what's going to, play a big impact on what's going to happen game three Friday night. So it's going to be a big game, and two road games in Atlanta. It's going to be huge. And I really think that Doc Rivers, I think he really outcoached himself game one, and I think he went back to what he would think was the right idea game two, and we saw what happened with Trae Young. He didn't really have a great game, so it's gonna be a big game. Game three, it's gonna be exciting to see what happens, and we'll be reacting on it Saturday as well.
Yeah, and real quick, just around the league, this is a little stunning to me. The LA Clippers in game one in Utah tonight, up 35-23.
Wow.
So that's definitely a big series to keep our eyes on. I mean, Clippers really have not proven anything. Obviously, just 2 years ago, getting Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but biggest thing's getting out of the second round for them, and they've been pretty unsuccessful at that. I think they have a good chance against this Utah team. I know we'll dive a little more into it on Saturday, but just the way Kawhi played, I mean, I know they rely on him heavily. I know he dropped the 45 piece and then around 40 on Sunday in game 7 or 30 in that range. But I think this team, if they can get a win in Utah, I think they're going to be dangerous, and they have a lot of momentum right now. So definitely a good series to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, it is. I will make predictions, obviously, Saturday as well. I mean, I really like the Clippers in Utah. I think that obviously they're out superstar with the guys they have in Utah as well, and also Phoenix is looking really good too as well in the West. And I think Brooklyn's kind of starting to pull away in that series already. Already 2 games in, they're looking like they're gonna pull away and try and get to the East Conference Final pretty quickly. But yeah, like I said, Saturday, Connor Mark Show, WCHE. Also, you can follow us on social media at Connor Mark Show on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube page. We'll see you guys again.